ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Niners, Bills. Kind of expected this game to go the way that it did. Bills at home, blizzard, temperatures below freezing. Niners not necessarily built for this type of atmosphere. We've seen them perform in these types of situations, not quite the exact same. This is a tough team, so you wouldn't expect weather to. This isn't a Miami Dolphins situation where you would expect weather to affect their mental and how they play, but no one expected San Francisco to win this game. And if you're a 49ers fan, the best way I can explain this is 2020 all over again. This is a carbon copy of the 2020 season. And if I'm not mistaken, you finished 6-10 that year. If I'm not mistaken, 7-9 is best case scenario that year, but I think you were 6-10. This is 2020 all over again. You went to the Super Bowl in 2019. You had all those injuries in 2020, and you were awful. That's what this season is. Bunch of injuries. You went to Super Bowl last year, bunch of injuries, and you're back to being a pumpkin. It's just one of those years if you're the 49ers. It sucks, but that's the nature of the beast. And McCaffrey getting injured feels like the end. I mean, look, I've said this before with the 49ers this season. You play in a lousy division, so you're not dead. But looking at this 49ers team, they look dead. We'll come back to the 49ers, put a pin in them. Let's talk about the team that clinched their division tonight. That is crazy that we're in week 13 and the Buffalo Bills have clinched their division already. They're the first team to do that this season. That is insane. But it just goes to show you just how awful the AFC East is. Literally, they are the worst division in football, but there's the Bills that's holding that division together. So you're not going to view it as the worst division, but at 10-2, the next closest team is the Miami Dolphins, who have 5 wins, which is why the Bills have clinched the division in week 13 at 10-2. The Jets have been a massive disappointment. The Patriots were expected to be bad, and the Dolphins are a massive disappointment. So here are the Bills reigning supreme yet again in the AFC East, excuse me. Shout out to the Bills for taking care of business. And let's talk about tonight's game. Snow, all of that good stuff. Typical December in Buffalo, Orchard Park type of game. You knew that the Bills were going to be prepared. You knew they were going to be prepared for this. They come off the bye week, had a big win prior to the bye against Kansas City. And this team looks as locked in as I've ever seen them look with Josh Allen as their quarterback. And it's amazing because before the season started, we had questions. In the season, my biggest thing was you don't have a number 1 receiver. This is not enough. They trade for Amari Cooper, and everything seems to be falling into place. They still haven't really clicked on all cylinders, which is pretty scary if you're in the AFC, because Cooper's still working his way in. Keon Coleman has been injured. Dalton Kincaid has been banged up. You're still kind of fitting all the pieces together. And once you get everybody fully healthy, and then you start to see what you truly have, this team could be really dangerous. Matt Milano came back tonight. That's a welcome sign for Bills fans. The arrow is definitely pointing up for this Bills team. They ran the football super effectively tonight. Obviously, James Cook with the big run. I thought Ray Davis was outstanding tonight. And really, both teams had the run game going early. with the temperatures and the conditions being what they were, the run game seemed to be working very well for both teams. But the problem was the Bills were the only ones actually getting anything out of what they were creating due to the run game. And Allen continues to strengthen his MVP resume. And fourth player in NFL history to record a pass for a touchdown that he ultimately threw to himself, because while he didn't complete the pass to himself, he threw the football to Amari Cooper, who then lateraled it back to him, and then Allen dives for the end zone. It's one of those plays that you put on the highlight reel, and it's just a part of his cut up for the remainder of the season, maybe even his career. When you're going through the catalog of plays, it's crazy to think that he got both a touchdown pass and a touchdown reception on the same play. But that's the kind of year it's been for Josh Allen. He's cut back on the turnovers. He's been the general that they need him to be. When his legs are necessary, those show up. When his arm is necessary, that shows up. He's been a playmaker all season long. He was again today. Rushed for a touchdown, caught a touchdown, obviously threw a touchdown. I mean, what more can I say? What can't this man do right now, as his team are the first to clinch their division this year, AFC East champions for what is this, the 5th year in a row now? I think Brady's last year in New England was 2019. So they've won the division every year since. So 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. So yeah, 5 years in running that they've reigned supreme over the AFC East. And now they've got their eyes set on that number 1 overall seed. They only really have one more game that you think they can lose, and that's going to be the game against Detroit in 2 weeks. That game, I don't know where it is, when it's supposed to be played. I assume whatever network has it, my guess would be it's CBS, is going to say, nope, you can't have it hands off. Could be Fox, because it is in Detroit. But whomever has the game, I'm pretty sure that network is fighting like hell to keep that game on that network. But if I'm the NFL, I don't know who is Sunday night that week. I say that. Why guess when you can just find out right now? If I'm the NFL, I'm taking a look at who is Sunday night football that week, because that could end up being the game of the year. Honestly speaking, let's see. Week 15 is when those two teams lock horns. 49ers Rams is the Thursday night game. I could do without that. You could easily flex that out of there and put, but you're not going to do that to those two teams. Thursday is tough. I don't want you to flex me in the Thursday. That game is on CBS at 4:25. CBS is not giving that game up. They've got it as their, primetime matchup on 4:25. They're not letting that go. You got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football that week, so that's different. I think that's be the first time we've had a Monday doubleheader. Packers Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. That's nasty, but they're not. I mean, that's a division leading Seattle team as of right now, and a Green Bay team fighting for a playoff spot. They're not going to flex that one out of there. But Bills, and when do we play? It sucks because I'll be live when that game is on, so I won't get to watch that game as it's playing live. There'll be two really good games at 4:25. Steelers, Eagles, and Bills, Lions. That 4:25 window is loaded. Chargers, Bucks is 4:25 that week. That 4:25 window is loaded in week 15. And I won't even be able to watch. That sucks. But I digress. That's going to be a hell of a game. But Allen adds a couple more touchdown passes tonight, adds another touchdown run, also adds a receiving touchdown to the ledger as he continues to bolster his campaign for MVP. I think it's a two player race at this point for MVP. With each loss, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson both find themselves fading in that race. They weren't going to give it to Lamar unless he was just incredible and they had the best record again, because he had just won it last year and that would have been his third. Not that they won't do that. Aaron Rodgers won it 2 years in a row, so they'll give it to a guy 2 years in a row if you deserve it, but he would have had to keep winning. They're not doing that, obviously, in Baltimore right now. It's a two-player race. It's Saquon Barkley and it's Josh Allen to me. And it may come down to which team fares best in terms of, right now, both of those teams are 10-2 and are in second place in their respective conferences. The Eagles are close to clinching the NFC East. Meanwhile, the Bills have already clinched the AFC East. So they're kind of mirrors of one another right now. The question is, and both have like for the Bills, I think they really have two strong opponents left. Just the Bills have one, excuse me. I think it's just the Detroit Lions. I mean, they play the Patriots twice in 3 weeks. I mean, it's looking pretty good for them right now. But let me double check on their schedule just to see who is left. I just saw it though when they put it up on the Rams, Lions, Patriots, Jets, Patriots. So literally they will be favored in every game except the one on the road at the Lions, and that they will probably only be 3-point underdogs if I had to guess in that game. So they should finish no worse than 14-3. They could finish 15-2 if they can somehow beat Detroit. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, they've got 2 games I think that they can lose on the schedule left. But the way they're playing, they may not lose any more games after beating the Ravens today. But they can. They have the Steelers. That's at home, and then they got to go to the Commanders. Those are the only 2 games left on the schedule that they could lose. So that's what I think ultimately the MVP race is going to come down to, is probably who has the best record. And obviously you got to finish up strong. What could also play a factor in it is who has something on the line at the end of the season, right? Like say the Eagles can't catch Detroit for the number 1 seed, and they've already locked in the 2 seed in the NFC. Like, what are they playing for down the stretch? Same thing could be said for Buffalo. You've already locked up your division. You could get to a point where can't catch Kansas City, which is hard for me to believe they'll be in a spot like that. I think Buffalo's going to have to play this thing all the way through because Kansas City, as we've seen, they're vulnerable, and all they got to do is finish tied with Kansas City because they beat them head-to-head. So I can't imagine a scenario unless, they drop that game to Detroit, Kansas City, who's already up a game, doesn't lose any other games, and you get to the last game of the season and Kansas City's up over. So Kansas City at that point would be 16 or 15-1 going into the final game, and the Bills would be 13-3, and they can't catch them. So they don't have to play Josh Allen in that last game. So maybe it could come down to something like that. Who knows? But as of right now, it feels like a 2-player race. And generally, the favor is the favor of the voters usually goes to the quarterback, whether right or wrong. That's usually how it goes. But we'll see. This feels like the best chance the Bills have had to finally beat Patrick Mahomes. I've said this from the jump. I don't see the Chiefs three-peating. It's elusive. No team has ever done it in the Super Bowl era. I don't think that the Chiefs are going to do it. But I've said this as well. The scary part, just like I feel like with the Bills, the scary part about the Chiefs is they're finding ways to win despite not having all of their stuff and not really gelling as a cohesive unit on the offensive side of the football. They're still finding ways to win. Hollywood Brown could be back at the midpoint of this month. He can start practicing. They just got Isaiah Pacheco back on Friday against the Raiders. So they're starting to get healthier offensively. They signed DJ Humphries. We'll see what he's able to do. If he can stabilize the left tackle position for them, oh my gosh, you know what that could do for their offense. So who knows what could happen with this Chiefs team? And we know they turn it up this time of the year. Like they could look like ass in October and spots in November, but they get to December and January and into February, they turn into a different animal. So we'll see. But this feels like the best opportunity the Bills have to take down Mahomes. They were at home last year. They didn't get it done. They lost to him about 4 years ago in the AFC Championship game. This feels like the opportunity. If there were ever one, they just got to find a way to get it done. Tonight was impressive because they did the thing that they needed to do, which was dominate a team that's struggling, that's dealing with injuries. Don't give them hope. And early in the game, when McCaffrey was running the football, it looked like this could be a dogfight, right? It looked like this could be a team back against the wall, championship pedigree, not going out without a fight. And it looked like San Francisco was ready for war. And then the injury to McCaffrey happened, and it took the wind out of their sails. And Buffalo smelled blood in the water, and they attacked, and they took them out of there. And by halftime, this thing felt over. It did, even though I think what was the score? Maybe 14-3 at halftime, I believe. It felt over at halftime. What was the score at halftime of this game? I think the Mac Hollins touchdown, which made it 21, came, if I'm not mistaken, in the third quarter. Nope. That was a second quarter, end of the first half touchdown throw. It felt over with the Mac Hollins play. 21-3 is what that made it. And at that point, you were just hoping that the 49ers didn't. I was this close to starting the stream early. If they would have scored after Deebo Samuel fumbled and they got the football that last time, because I think he fumbled when it was 35-10. I was this close, and then the Bills ended up not scoring, and Bass missed the field goal. I stopped right there, and I said, I'm gonna just let this thing finish out. I was this close to starting the stream. If they score there, a touchdown right there and go up 42-10, we're starting the stream immediately. So I was really close to calling it, but the defense got the stop, forced the field goal, the Bills missed, and I said, all right, I'm gonna just chill. So this thing got out of hand quick. It felt like it did. The James Cook play, the McCaffrey injury coupled with the James Cook run kind of spelled the beginning of the end of this game. Once they lost McCaffrey, you could tell that affected them. And even though, the broadcast of Tirico and Cosworth tried to, Jordan Mason is a really good, but he ain't Christian McCaffrey. And McCaffrey looked like he was ready to eat tonight. He got off to a fast start. I mean, he literally was about to score a touchdown on that run. And coincidentally enough, I think it was that run that banged him up, where he was about to, that's the fastest we've seen Christian McCaffrey run. And that is the closest he's looked to the last year's McCaffrey that was damn near league MVP. Or did he win league MVP? Probably offensive player of the year. I know he did win that. Lamar won MVP, but you could argue McCaffrey was in that discussion last year. It's probably going to end up being the same way this year, where Saquon wins offensive player of the year, but MVP is going to be Josh Allen. But he got to top speed, and we hadn't seen that from McCaffrey really since he came back from the injury. And he was that close, and he got up and he was mad. But the next time we saw him touch the football was when he went down. So I'm thinking the injury might have happened on that play. And he came in, got the toss. Clearly something was wrong. He went down on his own, and he went, uh-oh. Did not return to the game. And that might be his season, Season marked by injury, ends with an injury or a re-aggravation of it at a bare minimum. So it's really not much to say on the 49ers part. They've dealt with injuries all season long. The offseason I think a lot of times is sort of a window into what the season is ultimately going to be, it feels like. Like for me, what I've seen here of late, it is not always the case, but it feels like this is a trend. If you have a messy offseason that has drama of any sort that is unnecessary, that takes away from the team and the team building process in the offseason, if you don't nip it in the bud immediately and it turns into a circus or a bigger story than it needs to be, and it takes away from the building and the football that is taking place in the offseason to get you to a point where you're ready to compete at a high level during the regular season. If you have one of those situations, your season is not going to go well. That's what it seems like. Bad off season or controversial off season or messy off season leads to me is a bad omen of things to come. Think about it from this perspective. Cincinnati, messy off season. You know, T. Higgins situation. Jamar Chase thought he was getting paid, then he didn't get paid. So it was this whole ordeal all off season, not to mention Joe Burrow coming back from the wrist surgery. He's still flexing his wrist, this, that, and the third, but it was really surrounding the receivers. Higgins wanted his money. They didn't want to pay him. Jamar Chase wanted his money, thought he was getting paid. Mixed signals, didn't get paid. All types of mess. He wasn't there for the last few practices before the first game of the season. He was in question to not play against New England week 1, and then he plays, but he wasn't in tune with the offense. They scored 10 points and they lose in an upset to the New England Patriots. You've seen what their season has turned out to be. Trey Hendrickson wanted to get paid. He was on the verge of holding out, decided to play anyway. Defense has been ass. They're a mess, right? Are the Cincinnati Bengals. San Francisco 49ers, whole ordeal with Brandon Ayuk. This is a whole mess. He looks like he's going to be traded, and they gave him permission to seek a trade, and he turned down an opportunity to go to the Patriots, and other teams are interested, and ultimately all of this craziness happens. He's roping in other players from other teams. It's a mess. It's a circus. People are following the story. And then he ends up signing a long-term deal. After all of this, there's this bro hug. Everybody assumes that this is it. This is the end. He's getting traded, and he ends up signing a deal to stay in San Francisco. But it was a mess. It was a circus. Look at the team, right? Look at their situation. And then the Jets, right? And we could go on and on. There are other teams that have, had situations going on. But the Jets were also just a media frenzy. Rodgers doesn't show up for OTAs, this, that, and the third. And we've seen what that's turned into. And obviously, we've seen how their season has, played itself out. It's a shit show. So I just feel like if you have that distraction in the offseason, it bleeds into, the regular season. It's, to me, hard for it not to. And for the 49ers, it's just one of those years where you had that offseason situation, but what it all really boils down to, Trent Williams hurt, Brandon Ayuk hurt, Dre Greenlaw got hurt in the Super Bowl last year, so you were going to be without him, right? So hurt. Boza hurt, and we can keep going down the line of guys that are just banged up for this 49ers team. And Fred Warner just told us a week ago, he's been playing through some sort of injury the entire season. And you're like, damn. So he's not even the same player, still playing at a very high level though, but he's not the same guy. Obviously, McCaffrey obviously hurt and missed most of the season, finally came back. But Debo, I don't know what's going on with him. He's been a non-factor this season, and Kittle's been in and out of the lineup. He just got back this week after, I think he played. Did he play last week? I'm not sure if he played last week against Green Bay, but he played tonight. And but he's missed several games this season. It's just been a mess. Brock Purdy didn't play last week against Green Bay. And so the injuries, you can only overcome so many injuries before it totally wrecks your season. And it feels like we're at the boiling point with the 49ers. And the only reason that we're even allowed to keep having this conversation is because the division isn't any good. And they've built up enough equity, same with Cincinnati up until today. This was the last straw for Cincinnati. They're cooked. But they had built up enough equity that we said, you know what? Can't count them out. And then you look at their division and you say, nope, I refuse to count them out. But here's the reason why I'm already announcing the 49ers and pronouncing them dead. They not only have too many injuries, and the McCaffrey one feels like the final nail in the coffin tonight, but they already have 3 losses within the division. Like, you're not winning the division, because at the point where they are now, they'd have to probably win out, need help, obviously, and then that's only going to get them tied with someone, right? It's not going to, like, if they finished up the season 10-7, that's not going to be a game better than everybody else in the division. You're probably just finishing tied with somebody, Seattle, Arizona. And the problem is you've already lost 3 games in the division. You've lost a game to every single team in the division already. So the likelihood that somebody else you finish tied with in the division is going to go 3-3 or not 4-2, 5-1, 6-0, whatever the case may be. Hard to believe that. And I've always said, if you don't finish above 500 in your division, you can't win the division. That's a part of the NFL rules and and bylaws. Like, if you don't finish at least 4-2 in your division, you can't win the division. 500 in the division doesn't get it done. So they've already lost 3 games in the division. It just feels like a season that's lost at this point. And normally they're the ones doing this to somebody on national television, embarrassing someone, emasculating them on national television. The shoe was on the other foot tonight. I'm pretty sure it didn't feel very good to 49ers fans to watch this unfold the way that it did tonight. But I think there's also probably been a little bit of coming to grips in terms with the season. If you're a 49ers fan, you probably can see the writing on the wall. It's hard to admit what it is, because you look at the division and you say, we're still in it. But with the losses that you've already accumulated and with the injuries that continue to mount and pile up, just don't see how you are able to overcome this season. And so this feels like the end. Tonight feels like the end, the beginning of the end of the 49ers this season. And what a disappointing campaign it's been for the 49ers. And it continues to get worse as we await the news on McCaffrey's injury. It didn't look good, to tell you that much. It did not look good. So I hope it didn't have anything to do with the Achilles that was, sore, and tendonitis. I think he had a tendonitis in his Achilles. Hope that didn't have anything to do with it, but boy, it sure looked like it. But I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. I'm no doctor, so can't say what it is or isn't, but it didn't look good. It did not look good. So let's get to the Inside the Odds, brought to you by BetUS, and we'll come back on the other side of that, get to your comments, and talk about this game or whatever else you guys want to rap about in Week 13. Let's go Inside the Odds, brought to you by BetUS.
Inside the Odds.
Looking for a new book? BetUS has you covered with everything going on right now. The NFL nearing the postseason, college football nearing its postseason, college basketball underway, NBA in full swing, hockey in full swing. There's so many different things you can bet on, and BetUS has you covered for all of it. Fastest payouts in the industry. Also, get up to 10% back on your net losses twice a year, as long as you have been active in the past 6 months. And here's the big kicker: for brand new users to BetUS, use the promo code YouTube150 to get you 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000, 125% on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. Always Bet responsibly. Never bet more than you can afford to lose. And never, and I repeat, never, this is the most dangerous thing and one of the most important things you need to remember about betting. Do not chase your losses. It's a black hole you don't want to get sucked into. Anyway, I digress. This was a game that I thought could get out of hand, and Vegas kind of saw the writing on the wall too. When's the last time you've seen the 49ers as a 6.5-point dog? Does not happen often. That's the respect Vegas has for San Francisco, but they knew that this one could go off the rails, and it did, obviously. Bills, 6.5-point favorites to start. Obviously, they covered that with ease, winning this game 35-10. The over-under was 45.5. Did they nail that or did they nail that, right? I always tell you buy the half point, right? If you were on the under, that would have been the safe bet. But 45 points scored between the two teams, so they nailed it from an over-under standpoint. Did Bet US. But this is the thing that intrigued me the most, right? Was I thought in my head that this one could get a little sideways. So I went and I sought this out, like the winning margin, because the winning play here was Bills. Now, could you figure out how much they were going to win by? I was thinking more along the lines of 13 to 18, right? That's what I was thinking. They ultimately won this game by 25 points. So look what you could have put down, $100 on 25 to 30 point win for the Bills. That's plus 1,600, folks. You would have won $1,600. If you just put down $10, you'd have won $160. Again, who could have imagined that this thing would, get to that level? I was thinking more along the lines of 13 to 18, right? And that's plus 450. Like, that's what I was thinking. But if you thought the Bills were going to win this game, why not put down $10 on all of these? Like, not 31 or 37, but why not, start with 25 to 30, put $10 there, put $10 here on 19 to 24, 13 to 18, 7 to 12, 1 to 6, and you're going to win your money back and then some, right? No matter what it was, all of them was plus 280, plus 275, plus 450, plus 850, plus 1,600. You're going to win your money back. As long as the Bills win, you're going to get your money back if you put down $10 on all of these, right? But well, not necessarily the case. Obviously, you wouldn't get all your money back if you put down $10, and you hit on plus 280. You'd be winning $28. But I digress. This was the big money here. Plus 1,600. They hit it on the 25-point win. I thought it could get a little bit sideways. I didn't think it could get that sideways, though, where it was 35-10. But a couple turnovers. Christian McCaffrey goes down, and this thing got ugly fast. Kyle Juszczyk with an uncharacteristic fumble. It just was one of those nights, but it's really been one of those seasons. I'm not a big Chris Collinsworth guy. You guys know that. Big shout out to Bet US for sponsoring the stream and blessing us with those odds. But he said that Kyle Juszczyk fumble was a microcosm of the 49ers season. I agree with him, right? You have a nice drive going. You get all the way down inside the 5-yard line. You hand it to a reliable guy, and he gets whacked. And a great play by Taylor Rapp to punch that puppy out. That thing's laying there. Debo has a chance to go get it, but his leg gets clipped by the pile falling with the Juszczyk tackle, and they fall on his leg. That stops him from going to get the ball, and then the Bills scoop it up. And that's the microcosm of their season. Like, they got a chance, but they can't quite close the show, right? Like, you think about the 49ers season and all of the losses in the fourth quarter. That's really where their season has come to be defined. All of the blown leads, the Seattle game a couple of weeks ago, the Rams game earlier this season, the Cardinals game earlier this season, the inability to finish off opponents, win games that were there for them to win, has put them in this position. And they were that close to the end zone, that close to winning a bunch of games this season. They fumble the ball. They lose those games. you got a chance to get, salvage it. And, whether it's Jake Moody missing another field goal, which he struggled again tonight, and you cut him a break because the conditions, it just was tough to kick the football in. But he's been struggling. It could have been inside, right? It could have been in a dome. He's just been struggling this year in general. They just can't get right. And tonight was another one of those nights. Anyhow, let's get to the comment section real quick. Y'all know how this works. In case you do not, real quick, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. If it is pertinent and time permits, we will read your comment and react to it. But if you want to ensure that your comment is read, super chats are the way to do that. Not only are you going to have your comment on the air reacted to, but you're going to also jump straight to the front of the line. And super chats are the priority. So with that said, let's get to the comment section. We start off with LT. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy LT writes, division going to hate watching the playoffs go through Philly. It's going to get really interesting because I want to see how the breakdown goes, because the only game right now, like, Detroit plays in a tough division. We all know this. The good thing about what Detroit has done is they've already gone to Green Bay. They've already gone to Minnesota. Those are the two teams you think would have a realistic shot at beating them. They do have to go to Detroit, Chicago, and they almost, did lose to Chicago. So nothing's guaranteed just because they're at home. But I'm pretty sure they like their chances to beat Minnesota, beat Green Bay at home, more so than going to those venues. They've already taken care of that in those situations. So Detroit's got a tough go of it. And if I'm not mistaken, they got these Bills here too. So it's a tough road for Detroit to try to get to the number 1 seed. But if they slip up once and end up tied, I wonder who will win the tiebreaker. I'd have to take a look at the tiebreaker scenarios. It feels like the first tiebreaker that would apply would be, because they didn't play each other head to head, would be your conference record. And right now, both of Philadelphia's losses have come within the conference. The only loss that Detroit has right now is to Tampa. So they have one conference loss. If they were to say lose to Buffalo, that's not a conference loss. So if they were to finish 15-2, and so did Philadelphia, I would like to believe that Detroit would win out because they have a better conference record than Philadelphia. But we're a long ways away from that, because there's a lot of football left to be played to determine who will be the number 1 seed. But it could very well, that the playoffs in the NFC could very well go through Philadelphia. That was an impressive win today over Baltimore. It really, truly was. That Cooper DeJean hit on Derrick Henry, what the fuck was that about? Whoa. It could be interesting seeing the Eagles have home field advantage. Like, that number 1 seed is big in the NFC all of a sudden, because one, it doesn't matter where you are, to be 2 games away from the Super Bowl without playing one is awesome, right? But being able to avoid an opponent in the NFC, this NFC is going to be crazy. Like, being able to avoid an opponent, like the 7 seed, and I'm not tooting my team's horn, but the 7 seed could be the Commanders. The 7 seed could be the Packers. Like, you could run into somebody and get got in the first round if you're not careful. So if you can avoid all of that shit, who wouldn't want to do that, right? Yeah. Like, meanwhile, in the AFC, I mean, it could be just as wild, but I don't think anybody's, like, Denver's defense is really good. But I don't think anybody's, like, worried about the Chargers or Denver if you have to play those teams necessarily. And I can't say that you're not worried about them, but feels a little bit more threatening in the NFC. You can get got No, I don't know if anybody's really quivering in their boots if they got to play the Chargers or the Broncos. I don't know. Broncos are gaining confidence, though, so we'll see. Gearset One, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, Kyle out there coaching in flip-flops and luscious gray yoga pants. Tragic. Kyle looked cold as shit tonight. And he looked like Kyle has permanently looked aggravated and annoyed this season on the sidelines. I think he's had it up to here with his kicker for the first and foremost. Like, I think he is so annoyed right now with Moody that if Jake Moody wasn't a third round pick, which I always tell you, do not spend a pick higher than the 5th round. It's 5th round or lower. You break the rules, you know the consequences. They broke the rule. And so, again, Moody could end up being a Hall of Fame kicker for all we know. But it hasn't looked good these first 2 seasons. I was going to say, he was really good as a rookie, but he missed some kicks, though. That Cleveland one last year, huge. He had some spots where he struggled a little bit, but for the most part, he was really good as a rookie. He is struggling this season. Almost lost the Tampa game behind his shenanigans, right? They've lost games this season behind him. I don't know about him. So, anyway, I digress. Tragic. Door Gunner. Oh, Gunny. Hey, they asking for you, man. Warm the leg up. They asking about you. Shooter. You might have to get that leg warm, Shooter. They asking about you, Gunny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, never imagine Tucker being the Ravens' problem. Hey, look, it's a lot of kickers selling this year, man. We never envisioned J Tuck being an issue, but guess what? I've said this before. I'll say it again. Every kicker, no matter how great they have been, has had one of these seasons where people question you, and you know, the media want to run you out of town immediately. Like, yes, he is struggling. He's also Justin mother effing Tucker. Okay. And am I supposed to believe that man just can't kick? He's got the yips right now. They go away, right? Eventually, he's going to get his act together and he'll go back to being Justin Tucker. Do you want to move on from him in a fit of rage, in the heat of the moment? Do you want to have a moment of impulse where you're so frustrated with him, a guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer, the guy that owns the NFL record for the longest kick in history of this league, that has been the most accurate kicker in NFL history? Yes, he is struggling right now. But do you, in a fit of rage, in a moment of impulse, want to say, we got to move on from Justin Tucker? Because I know a lot of teams that would sign this man in a heartbeat. Even if he struggled this year, hey, he'll snap out of it next year. I know I'd sign up for him in a heartbeat. Because this ain't going to be who he is for the rest of his career. I watched Mason Crosby go through this shit. I watched Adam Vinatieri go through this shit. I watched Harrison Butker go through this 2 years ago. It happens to the best of them. Shooter McGavin ain't been the same since the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. Shooter McGavin. Shooter McPherson for the Bengals. So, shit happens, is what I'm telling you. But, yeah, man, they could have won that game against Philadelphia if he makes those kicks. It's a totally different game. Totally different game. In a game that ultimately ended up being decided by 6, he cost them 7 points, missed the extra point, missed 2 field goals. And again, when those field goals were missed, they would have given the Ravens not only the lead, it would have extended the lead, and it would have forced the Eagles to need a touchdown. Who knows how Nick Sirianni would have played the game if they're now trailing, and he might have been more aggressive. He might have done some dumb shit. You just never know. But that's been Justin Tucker this season. He's missed 10 kicks. First time in his career, he's missed 3 kicks in one game. This is who he's been this year. Crazy, I know. I might say, cuz, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. You know what to do. Show I might say, cuz, some love. Welcome with open arms. Welcome to the squad. I might say, cuz. Abel Ambrosio, my guy, Double A, been a member for 25 months. Who writes, feels so good having Louie on our squad. 2 claps. Woo! You know what it is, man. I told y'all would fall in love with this dude. I admire his game from afar, and when I said, man, I would go get Frankie Louie, never thought the Panthers would be stupid enough to let him leave. He was the heart and soul of that team, and they let him leave, and I'm so glad he's a member of our team now. He's going to end up with 100 tackles, double-digit sacks. At least he might end up with double-digit pass breakups this season. What is he at? 5 now, I think. So we could be talking double-digit pass breakups, double-digit sacks, triple-digit tackles. If he could recover, he's got 2 fumble recoveries this season. If he could pick off a pass, and he was close to picking one off today, how is he not an all-pro? That becomes then the $1 million question. How is he not an all-pro? Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. John Wynn says, Seahawks win versus Jets. Feels good, feels good. Celebrate. That the Jets are a mess. That win was as much about the Jets' dysfunction as it was Seattle's perseverance. That pick 6 by a defensive lineman, that's when shit's going really bad for you. Will you let a drop in defensive tackle? Now, also, can we just appreciate the athleticism of Leonard Williams to run back an interception 90 yards for a touchdown? Like, that was such an athletic play to get your hands on the ball, tip it, pick it, and then take off down the sideline. And like, he looked like a linebacker running that thing back at 300 and probably like 310 pounds. What? This shows off the athleticism of a Leonard Williams. And I know that had to feel good doing it against his old team that traded him away. That had to made it feel 10 times better that it was against the Jets. That's a big win for y'all, because I thought y'all were going to lose the game. I picked y'all to lose. I thought y'all was going to lose the game, and you were down big early. Samuel S. writes, the fact that we could go 12-5 and finish as the 7th seed is insane. The NFC is loaded, way more loaded than we assumed going into this thing. Remember, I was talking all types of shit about the conference and how there's no teams in it other than Philadelphia, Dallas, and San Francisco. Like, none of them scare you. And meanwhile, all the heavy hitters are on the AFC side of the bracket. And now you look up, in Detroit. I don't want to leave out Detroit. It was like those 4 teams. Like, Detroit's going to be good. Philadelphia's going to be good. Dallas, I didn't think would be great, but I, just throw them in there because they've been 12-5 3 years in a row. But I was like, they all in, but it don't feel like they all in. And then San Francisco. So it's really those 3 teams. But none of their quarterbacks scared you. Like, I'm not afraid of Jared Goff, not afraid of Jalen Hurts, not afraid of Brock Purdy. So you're like, the NFC doesn't really move me. Now you look at the NFC and you're like, F, bro. Like, 11-1 Detroit, 10-2 Philadelphia, 10-2 Minnesota, 9-3 Green Bay. Like, what the hell, bro? And like you said, we could run the table and still end up with the 7th seed. It's that crazy out here in these streets. Wild stuff. But one game at a time. I can't tell you what 12-5 looks like. I can only tell you what 8-5 looks like, because that's as far as we've gotten to this point. Samuel S. also writes, We were robbed of Bryce Young legacy drive today. Man, oh man, I watched that game and old young Bryce was coming of age like a young Memphis Bleak. Like doom doom do doom doom do doom 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 doom. And I was just waiting. It's time to come up. Hold up my weight, defend my crown. I was like, look at Bryce. Look at Bryce. And then I said, first when he scored a touchdown, and I looked, it was 30 seconds left, and the Bucs had all 3 times. I said, oh, they finna go get a field goal. That's what's about to happen. But Bryce can still win this thing in overtime, so it's not over yet. But I said, this is going to overtime. Sure enough, it went to overtime. And then, you know what's going to get lost in all of this? One of the sickest one-handed grabs I've ever seen in my life. Nothing's going to top Odell Beckham Jr., right? That was the night that his legend grew to epic proportions. But that one-handed catch that Adam Thielen had, hooked on a Thielen, it's going to get lost because they lost the game. But that's a third down, game on the line, and Adam Thielen stretches out and grabs that football with one mother effing hand. And I'm like, I said to my wife, whoa! She said, what happened? I said, and I was just like this. And then they showed the replay. She was like, oh my God, they're gonna win. And then the next play, it's some Carolina, like, only bad teams find ways to lose games. Like this shit, you can't make it up. A guy that hadn't fumbled, I don't think he's fumbled all year long. Chuba Hubbard fumbles on the next play. Just rip that bit. Now, this was a great rip out. Lawnmower style. Yup. Give me that. Yum, yum, eat them up. Yum, yum, eat them up. Give me them cookies, man. You don't know what to do with that. Damn. And once that happened, you knew they were going to lose the game at that point. Like, that was that was their shot in overtime, in field goal range. That was it. We did get robbed of a legacy drive. But it's just good to see the young fella playing with confidence. I had a Panthers fan. I had multiple Panthers fans tell me that this man was physically incapable of playing quarterback at the NFL level. I can't let that shit slide. Because they sat here and debated with me and told me that this man he physically can't play the position at this level. That's what I was told. Joe Rockhead, thank you for being a member for 36 months. Salute. Right. I just want at least 3 more wins to get to 11. One at a time. One at a time. All right. One win at a time. That's all we trying. Next one is the Saints in 2 weeks. Take it one at a time. I know exactly where you're coming from. I know exactly why you want 11 wins. I know all of these things, and I agree, but one at a time, Joe. One at a time. One at a time. All right. Samuel S. says, celebrate, guys. We won the Sean Taylor game. I was going to talk about that tomorrow on CNN if I don't get to it first on the day after reaction. But I was saving that for tomorrow to reflect on that when I got to the offense, the keys to victory, all of that stuff. Either I was going to do it on CNN or I was going to do it on the day after. But it's not often I get to say that we won the Sean Taylor game. But here we are, getting it done. And I talked about flush in November. We flushed November. And we started off December the right way. And let's see if we can't keep it going. Ebad Shamim writes, what is it with NFL kickers this year? I assumed it was a problem for us, but seeing the games the last few weeks seems like many teams have a kicker problem. You know what? That is a great observation. Now, I will say that the NFL kicking business is thriving like it never has before. We've seen more kicks over 50 attempted and made this season than in any other season in NFL history. We've already had a kicker surpass the record for most 50-plus yard field goals made in a season individually in Texas kicker Kamimi Fairbairn. So we're in a golden age of kicking the football. Is what we are in. Like, these kickers are getting bigger, faster, stronger, bigger legs, all of it. I mean, we got kickers out here like Joey Slye that look like linebackers, right? Joey Slye attempted a game-winning kick from 68 yards today. He missed short, obviously, but not by much. Probably missed that kick by a yard and a half, right? So the fact that they even had confidence that they could send him out there for a 68-yarder tells you where the state of the NFL kicking game is. That said, a lot of teams are on the struggle bus. Eagles kicker Jake Elliott is having a rough go of it this year. Jake was damn near automatic. This year, he hasn't he probably made a kick over 50 now, but we were 10, 11 weeks in and he hadn't made a kick over 50 yards, right? Jake Moody struggling for the 49ers. Younghoe Koo was having a great start to the season. He had established himself as one of the league's best kickers, made some clutch kicks early in the season. He can't buy a break. They are losing games because of Younghoe Koo right now. They were winning games at the beginning of the season because of him. They are now officially losing games. Kirk Cousins was awful today. For all the Kirk Cousins haters, Kirk Cousins looked washed today. I'm like, yo, Kirk, like, there was a real conversation after this game about benching him, and Raheem Morris had to put those to bed. But that pick six he threw, and then there was an even worse. If you thought the pick six was bad, wait till you see the interception he threw in the end zone. I'm asking Kirk, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Do you want to get benched for the young fella? Because that's unacceptable. But Younghoe Koo, they got no confidence in Younghoe Koo right now. I think that's why Kirk is stressing, because he's like, I got to score. I trust this dude to come out here. He missed from 30-something today. Like 35. Like, if he can't even hit that, what am I supposed to do? So they got kicker issues. Obviously, Justin Tucker's got kicking woes in Baltimore. We got kicking issues with our situation. I mean, there's plenty of other teams that have had issues with their kicking situation this year. The Packers had kicking issues and lost games behind it up until they got Brandon McManus. He's kind of stabilized their situation, but they were struggling at the kicker position. So we saw what the Raiders had going on Friday. If he's a really good kicker. Their kicker is a really good kicker, but he was struggling. So, I mean, there's so many kickers that have had some issues this season. And for as good as the kicking position has evolved into, still a lot of struggles going on. Joe Rockhead, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we need kickers like a martial arts flicks. Look, man, I'm just hoping that we render the kicking position for the next few weeks a moot point. Just make the extra points. Hopefully we scoring touchdowns and we're not putting the onus on a field goal kicker to have to make kicks consistently. It's not where you want to live in this league, and you damn sure don't want to be there if you got a kicker that's sus, which we do right now. Samuel S. says, I can't be the only one that was like, oh my effing God, we're about to blow this effing game after Jaden threw the pick, right? LOL. I can speak for myself. I have PTSD as a fan. So I never think we've won a game until it's almost physically incapable for the team to come back. So even up 28-0, I wasn't comfortable because there was still a lot of football left to be played. So it wasn't until I think we got to 35-13 that I settled down and like, we straight now. But it wasn't, I wasn't fully like, I know we won until it was 42. That's when I knew the game was over. But I can only speak for myself. When he threw that pick, you damn right. I wasn't thinking we were gonna lose. I was like, we about to make this game a lot harder, and I'm gonna be a lot more nervous than I should be, being that we were up 28-0. I shouldn't even have to worry about this game at all today. Like, I should be able, like, there was good football on. The Patriots and the Colts came down to what we just talk about. Offensive coaches err on the side of aggression. Defensive-minded coaches err on the side of caution. Colts went for 2 and won the damn game. So that game was coming down to the wire. You had Vikings and Cardinals came down to the wire. You had one more game that was Steelers and Bengals was this crazy shootout, 44-38. That, like, I had all these good ass games on in front of me, and then Falcons and Chargers was a crazy game that was coming down to the wire, right? So I had all these good ass games, and I'm like, I really would like to focus on this TV with these 4 games and not have to worry about my shit because it's already done. I already washed my hands clean of that situation. We done with these boys. And I was like, y'all trying to rob me of this. Y'all trying to rob me and make me have to focus in on our game, and you're taking me away from all of these good ass finishes that's happening over here. And luckily enough, they didn't rob me today. But I felt like they were going to make me have to sweat out some shit that I shouldn't when we were up 28-0 at one point. Good thing was that didn't come to pass. So never thought we were going to lose the game. You start off a game 21-0, you get to 28-0. That losing the game never entered my mind. But could this shit get really competitive? Could I be out here palm sweaty, heart beating fast when I was up? Yeah, you damn right. That shit crept into my mind for sure, without question. Niners fan says, I can't think of a worse feeling than knowing your team missed their championship window, especially in the manner we lost last year. We may never be the same. So here's what I say to that. You've been here before. You have a good quarterback. He's not great, but he's good. And he gives you a shot. You have a talented roster. I don't think your window's closed. But here's what I can't speak to. The impact of a loss in the Super Bowl like the one you had last year. I don't know the lingering effects of that. We've heard of the Super Bowl hangover. That exists. That is real. You're experiencing that right now, right? The loser in the Super Bowl usually does not bounce back like round ball the next year. And we've seen that kind of play itself out over the last 2 decades. You lose the Super Bowl, it's usually tough to overcome that. But in the manner that you lost it makes it a little bit tougher. But I don't think that's, why you're struggling right now. I just think you got a bunch of injuries. And we thought that we looked at a number of teams. Eagles, I talked about their window being, somewhat not closed, but getting closer to being shut. Look at what they're doing. I talked about the Bills potentially missing their, Super Bowl window with, all of the injuries contracts that they had to figure out in the offseason. You see how many it was a mass exodus. All these veteran players moving on, and they didn't look like they had enough on offense, moving on from Diggs. And I was like, they might have missed their window. Look at them now. Like, I just, if you got a good organization and you have a well-run organization in San Francisco, if you have a well-run organization, I just refuse to. And you have a good enough quarterback, which I believe you do in Brock Purdy. Then your window isn't closed. It just sucks because of the position you're in right now. You're not really used to being in this position, but I think that's a bit it's a bit harsh. I think that's more of you just being disappointed talking than that being the reality of your situation. You just signed, like, Debo's not going anywhere, at least not for another year. Ayuk's clearly not going anywhere. He got hurt early enough in this season that he'll be ready more likely than not for the start of next season. Kittle's not going anywhere. You just signed Boza back for a long-term deal. You know, all of your stuff is still here. Trent Williams is the only one, along with McCaffrey, where you look at McCaffrey's injury situation and you just hope he's okay. And it's nothing serious, but if it felt serious, right? Watching him slide to the ground and then, you know, limp off, it feels pretty serious, right? It feels like something got torn. That's my guess. I'm no doctor. Again, I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. I've watched football long enough to know when some shit looks serious. That didn't look good. Non-contact goes down. That's not good. So him and Trent feel a little bit more ominous. But I tell you that Fred Warner is going to be back. You're going to be fine. A lot of these young guys have played well. We talked about that earlier in the season when you were having a little bit more success. But, you know, the corner from Florida State looks good. Mustafa made a play tonight. I thought he could have tried to pick that off. You know, you've gotten some good play out of Dominic Pooney at times. Like, it was a really good draft class. You were bragging on them early this season. The future's, I think it's still bright in San Francisco. So I don't necessarily agree with that assessment, but I understand that you're frustrated, though. This was not the way this season was supposed to go. JB, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. JB writes, Lou, I missed the post game. Is Lattimore playing next week? Well, if he did, he'd be playing by himself. Because we off next week, baby. Chill. Bye week. Enjoy it. He'll be back definitely post-bye, though. As long as there are no setbacks, of course. Let's see. Samuel S says, why you ain't put ass whooping on the board, Lou? I was going to do that. And I started to, if they would have scored that last touchdown, it was definitely going to be ass whooping. I mean, I could have done it anyway. They lost by 25 points. This game was not close. Josh Allen didn't finish the game. So that tells you all you need to know. I probably should have, you know what? Why not? Just why? You know what? Why not? You know, think there's been a murder. I can't think there's been. I think there's been a murder. Pop, 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 pop. Why not? Right? Why not? Let's see. Samuel S says Lions Bills Super Bowl preview. Don't sleep on Philadelphia either. Don't sleep on the Chiefs either. Like, it's still a lot of teams that can find themselves. Like, right now, those seem like the four: Eagles, Lions in the NFC, Bills, Chiefs in the AFC. Don't want to sleep on Pittsburgh either. Like, it's some teams kind of hovering around. Like, hey, don't forget about them. Especially the Steelers. They're kind of like, I've been real disrespectful to them. Them scoring 44 points today, that shit opened my eyes a little bit. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Now I get it. Cincinnati stinks. Their defense is awful. I get it. But 44 is 44. I don't give a shit who you're playing, right? We see bad teams play every week and they don't give up 44 points. 44 is 44. And if they're capable of putting up 44, That gives me a different outlook on the damn Pittsburgh Steelers. Because my biggest issue with them is I don't think they can score enough. Well, shit, they scored 44. They scored 44. I don't know. Victor Rios says, what are your thoughts on the Eagles now that they have Super Bowl potential? That this is a legitimate team to be reckoned with in the NFC. Like, I've seen enough now. Today was validation of that. Going to Baltimore and beating the Ravens was validation of that. That was a big win. All right. Jeffs writes, CMC suffered potential season-ending PCL injury per Shanahan. Well, if it's just the PCL, not as bad as I thought it could be. Still not good, obviously. But normally, if you're talking PCL, you're talking ACL, you could be talking LCL. That's when we start talking all them CLs and like, like posterior, anterior, lateral. Like, we get into them CLs, it could get ugly. PC is probably the best case scenario, will be my guess. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't find out that he tore like 3 of them, all 3 of them. Yikes. Rafael Del Luna writes, I got the Bills and the Lions in the Super Bowl. What says you? I mean, that sounds good. I mean, those are 2 really good teams, but I like I said, I refuse to count out Kansas City. I refuse to count out the Eagles right now. It's a lot to be decided right now. Steelers are right there, right? Playing some really good football. Minnesota is 10-2. That you say what you want about their offense. Their defense is still good. You still got to deal with it. Packers, like it's a lot of shit to left to be decided right now. So hard for me to say that. JB, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Laughing my ass off, Lou. I forgot about the buy. Yeah, yeah, you did. You was tripping, but it's all good, man. This feels good to finally be on that buy and to go in with a win. That's big. That's big for sure. Vincent Co, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Vince, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I lost playoff hope for a while, but Seahawks been kind of balling. Leonard Williams is a beast. Didn't he win NFC Defensive Player of the Week last week and then turn around and got a 90-yard pick 6 this week? Yeah. I remember when you guys traded for him, I was like, I really don't know what the hell you're doing right now. Like, Leonard Williams ain't that guy. And he's made me look like a fool here lately. You re-signed him in the offseason, and he's balling this year. And maybe he just needed the right defensive coordinator and the right scheme to unlock him. You know, this is the same defensive coordinator, your head coach, Mike McDonald, that took Nnamdi Madubuike from a really solid defensive tackle to a all-pro defensive tackle. And so looks like Leonard Williams might have a chance to turn into a stud again. Seahawks are playing good on defense, creating turnovers, making timely plays. And I was right there with you. A month ago, you couldn't have paid me to get me to think that the Seahawks would be sitting essentially a full game clear of the rest of the division through 13 weeks. That's not where I would have thought you would have been a month ago. Well, after you lost to the 49ers on Thursday night, I thought that was the beginning of the end for you. Then the following week after that, you follow it up with another heartbreaker at home, this time to the Rams in overtime. I'm like, yeah, you cooked. And you know what? Your best work has come on the road. You've been disappointing at home this year. The Giants game was your biggest stinker of the year, right? That was at home. 49ers game, that was at home. Rams game, that was at home. Would you look at your wins on the road? Going to Atlanta, dumb impressive the way you took care of business there, right? Improbable come from behind victory over San Francisco on the road. And in this game, right? Your best work has been on the road this season. Rocky D, been a member for 24 months, 2-year Annie. Stand up, you know what it is. Really appreciate you. Who writes, Washington last home win in December since 2017 is true. Laughing my ass up. Yeah, they explained it to me. They broke it down for the kid. I needed somebody to explain to me how that is physically possible, that we had not won a home game in the month of December since 2017. That is utterly impossible to do, and yet we made the impossible possible. Wow. How inept do you have to be as an organization to have that happen? That's my squad, boy. Yikes. I'm glad that ain't who we are anymore, though. Yikes, Rocky D. Yikes. Anyway, I digress. Time to get out of here. That is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Bills dominate the San Francisco 49ers in the snow, 35-10, get to 10-2 on the season, remain one game behind the Kansas City Chiefs for the #1 overall seed in the conference. Dominant performance. Josh Allen threw 2 touchdown passes, ran a touchdown run in, and caught a touchdown pass from himself. Not theoretically speaking, not literally, but it goes down in the record books as a touchdown pass and a touchdown reception as he was lateraled to by receiver Amari Cooper, and Josh Allen took it in the end zone. So just a hell of a game. They had some big explosive runs, including the James Cook's like 70-yarder for a touchdown. All Bills all the time tonight, 35-10. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, it feels like tonight was a culmination of a long season gone wrong, and it kind of felt like it was the beginning of the end of the season for them. Again, the division's still wide open, but with all the losses to teams in the division, coupled with the McCaffrey injury tonight, it just feels like it's too much for this team to overcome. And they look like a team that is starting to really wear the ill effects of that Super Bowl hangover, but more importantly, all the injuries that they sustained to key players at key positions on this roster. It's just been one, injury and, one mistake after another, or one mishap or one unfortunate situation like, Charvarius Ward's situation that they talked about on the telecast. It's just been one thing after another with this 49ers team. And tonight it was Christian McCaffrey getting injured. So they're now 5-7. Division leader in that, in the NFC West is 7-5. So again, theoretically speaking, they aren't out of it, but who thinks that they're in it? Tonight felt like a team that is on the verge of waving the white flag. Tough conditions, I'll admit that, but they didn't look good. Not after the McCaffrey injury. They looked despondent after that injury. That one hurt a lot. So anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Want to give a quick shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this stream. Use the promo code YouTube150 to get you 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Bills administer an ass whooping to the San Francisco 49ers. Think there's been a murder. See y'all next time. Yellow tape everywhere. Y'all stay behind the caution tape. Stay behind the yellow caution tape. It's dangerous. It's a chalk outline of the San Francisco 49ers, man. Let us canvass this area, get all the evidence, and we'll report back our findings. But right now, seems like the Bills are our prime suspect, and it was ugly. Bills get it done 35-10. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. God bless. Good night.